Welcome to Election Night in America 2024 between the incumbent Vice President Kamala Harris, who will be facing off the former President Donald Trump. But taking a look at the favorability ratings of each of these two candidates, Harris is currently favored by 47% over Donald Trump to his 43%. And now, taking a look at the approval rating of Vice President Kamala Harris, she's underwater by a net negative 3%. She's at 45% approval to her disapproval rating of a 48%. And now we have some polls out of the state of Georgia in which Donald Trump is favored by a couple points, and polls out of Arizona suggest that Donald Trump also has the narrow lead in this state, and polls out of Wisconsin suggest the opposite, in which Harris is supposed to win this state very narrowly. And now take a look at the battle for control of the U.S. Senate. As of right now, the preferred political party in Congress is the Democrats with 47% to the Republicans 45%, according to nationwide polling data. According to Montana polling, John Tester, the Democrat, is trailing his Republican opponent, Tim Sheehy. And polls out of Nevada suggest that Jackie Rosen is expected to win her race. And polls out of Ohio suggest that Sherrod Brown is favored here. We have our first batch of poll closings 7 o'clock PM Eastern Time from these states. Starting off with Kentucky, 8 electoral votes. Former President Donald Trump is the projected winner in this state. No surprise here. And as for Indiana, is 11 electoral votes. Donald Trump is the winner here, no surprise here. And then the Senate race in Indiana, Jim Banks will hold on to his seat for the Republicans. And out of Indiana's governor's gubernatorial race, this is going to be a hold for the Republicans. Mike Brewan will be reelected. And as for South Carolina, with its 9 electoral votes, no surprise here, Donald Trump is a projected winner. Our first state for Kamala Harris, Vermont, with its 3 electoral votes, she is the projected winner in this state. And out of Vermont's Senate race, Bernie Sanders, the independent incumbent, will hold on to his seat. No surprise here. And out of Georgia, this is a must-win for Donald Trump, important key battleground state. It is currently too early to call, with just 12% in, and Kamala Harris is holding a double-digit lead at the moment. And out of Virginia, with 37% in, it is too early to call. Donald Trump is in the lead at this current moment. And out of Virginia's Senate race, Tim Kaine will hold on to his seat for the Democrats once again. No surprise here. And take a look at the battle for control of the Senate. To 51 seats, the Republicans are currently at 39 to the Democrats 29 seats. And take a look at the electoral map. To 270 electoral votes, Donald Trump is currently leading at 28, and Kamala Harris is at 3 electoral votes, but it is still very early in tonight. We now have our 7:30 p.m. poll closings Eastern Time from these 3 states. West Virginia's 4 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner. And out of West Virginia's Senate race, Jim Justice will flip this seat, replacing Joe Manchin. No surprise here. And out of West Virginia's governor's gubernatorial race, Patrick Morrisey is going to be hold for the GOP. And as for North Carolina, a key battleground state must-win for Donald Trump, it is currently too early to call with just 23% in, and Kamala Harris holds the lead at the moment. And out of Ohio, with its 17 electoral votes, we now can project that former President Donald Trump will win the state of Ohio. And as for Virginia, another update to this state, with 54% in, Donald Trump remains in the lead at the moment with its 13 electoral votes. And another update to the map to 270, Donald Trump expands his lead at 50 electoral votes to Vice President Kamala Harris's 23 electoral votes. We now have our 8 o'clock p.m. poll closings Eastern Time from these states. Oklahoma's 7 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner. Polls have now closed in Tennessee with its 11 electoral votes. Former President Trump will win this state. No surprise here, out of Tennessee's Senate race, Marshall Blackburn, this is going to be a hold for the Republican Party. And as for Mississippi, Donald Trump will pick up the state's 6 electoral votes. And out of Mississippi Senate race, Roger Wicker will hold on to his Senate seat for the Republicans. No surprise here. And out of Alabama, with its 9 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner. And out of Missouri, with its 10 electoral votes, former President Trump will win this state. And Josh Hawley will win re-election in the Senate in the state of Missouri. No surprise here. And out of Missouri's governor's gubernatorial race, Jay Ashcroft will hold on to his seat for the GOP. Another update on Georgia, too early to call with 30% in. Kamala Harris remains in the lead at the moment. And as for Florida, Donald Trump's own home state, with its 30 electoral votes, we now can project that former President Donald Trump will pick up the state of Florida with its 30 electoral votes by a projected margin of 8 percentage points. With 82% of the estimated voters in, we now can project Florida for Donald Trump. And out of Florida Senate race, Rick Scott will hold on to his seat for the Republicans. And out of Ohio, too early to call with 39% in the Senate race, Sherrod Brown is currently in the lead over Bernie Moreno at the current moment. And out of Maine, Donald Trump will win its 2nd congressional district, while Kamala Harris will win the rest of those districts. But out of Maine's Senate race, Angus King, this is going to be a hold for the independent senator. No surprise here, he will win re-election. And out of the District of Columbia, with its 3 electoral votes, Vice President Harris will win this state. And out of Virginia, with its 13 electoral votes, 71% in, it is a dead heat, close race. Kamala Harris is barely in the lead at the moment for the first time tonight by just a couple percent. We cannot make a projection just yet. And out of Massachusetts, with its 11 electoral votes, Vice President Kamala Harris will win this state. And out of Massachusetts Senate race, Elizabeth Warren will hold on to her seat for the Democrats. No surprise here. And out of Illinois, with its 19 electoral votes, Vice President Kamala Harris will win this state. No shocker here. And out of New Hampshire, too close to call with 54% in, Vice President Harris remains in the lead at the moment. And out of Maryland, with its 10 electoral votes, we now can project Kamala Harris is going to win this state. And out of Maryland Senate race, Angela Alsobrooks will defeat Larry Hogan. And out of Delaware, with its 3 electoral votes, Vice President Kamala Harris will win Joe Biden's own home state. And out of Delaware's Senate race, Lisa Rochester will hold on to her Senate seat for the Democratic Party. And out of Delaware's governor's gubernatorial race, Bethany Long, this is going to be another victory for the Democrats. No surprise here. And as for New Jersey, with its 14 electoral votes, we now can project that Vice President Harris will win this state. And out of New Jersey Senate race, Andrew Kim will hold on to this Senate seat for the Democratic Party. And as for Connecticut, with its 7 electoral votes, polls have now closed here, Kamala Harris will win this state. And out of Connecticut's Senate race, Chris Murphy will hold on to his Senate seat for the Democratic Party. No surprise here. And out of Rhode Island, with its 4 electoral votes, we now can project Kamala Harris is the winner of this state. And out of Rhode Island's Senate race, Sheldon Whitehouse will hold on to this seat for the Democrats. And out of Maine, as we stated earlier, Kamala Harris will win the rest of the districts, while Donald Trump does get Maine's 2nd congressional district. And out of Pennsylvania, a must-win for either candidate. Too early to call. This could be the tipping point state, the deciding factor of who ultimately wins this election. 32% in, and as of right now, Kamala Harris is currently trailing Donald Trump at the moment with its 19 electoral votes. And out of Pennsylvania Senate race, we now can project that Bob Casey will win re-election, defeating David McCormick by a margin of 4 percentage points with 71%. And Bob Casey will win with 52% of the vote to David McCormick's 48%. Another update on the Senate map: Republicans currently at 44 seats to Democrats 36 seats. An update on the electoral map: to 270 electoral votes, Donald Trump remains in the lead at 125 to Vice President Kamala Harris's 77 electoral votes. We now have our 8:30 p.m. poll closings Eastern Time from just one state. Arkansas, with its 6 electoral votes, no surprise here, Donald Trump will win this state. We now can project that Vice President Kamala Harris will win Virginia's 13 electoral votes, defeating Donald Trump in the state by a projected margin of 4 percentage points, by 52% to Donald Trump's 48 percentage points. We now can call Virginia for Vice President Harris. And as for New Hampshire, 74% in, and Kamala Harris is expanding her lead in this state. Another update on Georgia, important key state, a must flip for Donald Trump. It remains too early at 46% of the estimated vote is in, and Trump is still trailing Kamala Harris at the moment. And as for Ohio Senate race, 52% in, and Sherrod Brown remains in the lead at the moment. Another update on North Carolina, it remains too early to call with 47% in. Donald Trump takes the lead for the first time tonight. It is very close at the moment. And out of Pennsylvania, too early to call with just 44% in, Donald Trump remains in the lead at the moment. Another update on the electoral map: Kamala Harris is at 90 electoral votes, currently trailing Donald Trump at 131 electoral votes. We now have our 9 o'clock p.m. poll closings Eastern Time from a big batch of states. Starting off with South Dakota, 3 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner. No surprise here, Wyoming's 3 electoral votes, Trump will win this state. And out of Wyoming Senate race, John Barrasso will win this Senate seat for the Republicans. This is going to be another hold. And out of North Dakota, with its 3 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner. As well as North Dakota Senate race, Kevin Cramer will hold on to his seat for the GOP. And North Dakota's governor's gubernatorial race, Tammy Miller will hold on to this for the Republicans. And out of Louisiana, with its 8 electoral votes, Donald Trump will win this state. Another update on Ohio's Senate race, it is now too close to call with 61% of the expected voters in. Sherrod Brown's lead is narrowing, it is getting closer. He's only up by 4 points at the current moment. We cannot make a projection just yet. And that in Nebraska, Donald Trump will take the state's 5 electoral votes. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris does win its 2nd congressional district. And that in Nebraska Senate race, Deb Fischer is going to be a hold for the Republicans. And out of Nebraska Senate special election, Pete Ricketts is going to win this Senate seat. Another update on Georgia, must win for Donald Trump. He is currently trailing Kamala Harris. It is too close to call with 59% of the estimated vote is in. And out of Kansas, former President Trump will pick up the state's 6 electoral votes. Another update on Pennsylvania, it is now too close to call with 59% in, and Donald Trump is still in the lead over Harris, but it is narrowing, it is getting a whole lot closer. We cannot call this race just yet with its 19 electoral votes. We now can project that Vice President Kamala Harris will pick up New York's 28 electoral votes. No surprise here, and she will win the state of New York by a projected margin of just 10 percentage points. And out of New York Senate race, Kirsten Gillibrand will hold on to her seat for the Democratic Party. No surprise here. We have a major projection out of the battleground state of North Carolina with its 16 electoral votes. We now can project that former President Donald Trump will win this state by a margin of just 2.8 percentage points with 85% of the estimated voters in. We now can call North Carolina for Donald Trump. These are the margins. And out of North Carolina's governor's gubernatorial race, we have a major projection for the Democrats. Josh Stein will win this seat. For the Democrats, this will be a hold, defeating Mark Robinson by a margin of 5 percentage points with 99% of the estimated voters in. We now can call North Carolina's governor's race for Josh Stein, the Democrat. And out of Colorado, with its 10 electoral votes, Vice President Kamala Harris will win this state. And out of New Hampshire, we now can project that Kamala Harris will pick up the state's 4 electoral votes, defeating Donald Trump by a projected margin of 6 percentage points, 53% to Trump's 47%. We have a major projection out of the state of Texas with a huge electorate at 40 electoral votes. Former President Donald Trump will win the state of Texas by a projected margin of 8 percentage points with 69% of the estimated voters in. We now can call Texas for Donald Trump. And at the Texas Senate race, Ted Cruz will hold on to his seat for the Republicans, defeating the Democratic opponent, Colin Allred, by a projected margin of 5 percentage points. We now can project that New Mexico will go to Kamala Harris with its 5 electoral votes. And that in New Mexico Senate race, Martin Heinrich will hold on to his seat for the Democratic Party. And out of Arizona, too early to call, 51% in, Kamala Harris is currently in the lead over Donald Trump at the moment. And out of Arizona's Senate race, it is too early to call, but Ruben Gallego has a double-digit lead over Kari Lake. And out of Wisconsin, a major important state, too early to call with just 50% in, and Donald Trump currently holds a double-digit lead at the moment. And out of Wisconsin Senate race, we now can project that Tammy Baldwin will win re-election for the Democrats. This is going to be a hold. She will defeat Eric Hovde by a margin of just 2 percentage points. And out of Michigan, too close to call, a must-win for Vice President Harris. Just 70% of the estimated voters in, but Donald Trump holds a lead of just 2 points, very narrow. We cannot call it just yet. And out of Michigan Senate race, Alyssa Slotkin. This is going to be another hold for the Democratic Party. She's going to win by a projected margin of 4 percentage points, defeating Mike Rogers. And here's another update on the Senate race. 50 seats for the Republicans. They are slow close to flipping the Senate. Just 44 seats for the Democratic Party. Another update to the electoral map to 270 electoral votes. Donald Trump creeping up at 212 electoral votes, and Kamala Harris is still trailing at 138 electoral votes. We now have our 10 o'clock p.m. poll closings Eastern time from these 4 states. But before we get on to that, we have a major projection out of the state of Minnesota. With its 10 electoral votes, we now can project that Vice President Kamala Harris will win the state of Minnesota by projected margin of 6 percentage points, with 77% of the estimated vote share is in. And out of Minnesota Senate race, we can call Amy Klobuchar, the incumbent Democrat. This is going to be hold, no surprise here. And out of Utah, with its 6 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner. And out of Utah's Senate race, John Curtis will hold on to this seat for the Republicans. And out of Utah's governor's gubernatorial race, Spencer Cox will win this state. And out of Pennsylvania, with too close to call, 77% in, Donald Trump remains in the lead over Kamala Harris at the moment. We cannot make a projection just yet. And out of Ohio Senate race, remains too close to call, with just 79% in. Sherrod Brown's lead is getting extremely narrow. He's only up by 1 point at the moment. Another update on Georgia, too close to call, 73% in. Donald Trump is expanding his lead. He takes the lead for the first time tonight. And out of Michigan's race, 82% of the estimated voters in. It is too close to call, and Donald Trump's lead is narrowing. It is getting extremely close with its 15 electoral votes. We cannot call Michigan just yet. And out of Arizona, another update, too close to call with 75% in, and Kamala Harris is in the lead, but it is getting very close. Her lead is shrinking. At the moment, it is winding down with its 11 electoral votes. And out of Arizona Senate race, Ruben Gallego remains in the lead over Kari Lake by double digits. We can now call Montana's 4 electoral votes for Donald Trump, no surprise here. And out of Montana's Senate race, it is too early to call with 53% in. Jon Tester, the incumbent, is currently in the lead over Tim Sheehy at the moment. Out of Nevada, too close to call with 76% in. Kamala Harris is currently in the lead over Donald Trump by just 1 percentage point with its 6 electoral votes. And out of Nevada Senate race, it is too early to call, 48% in, and Jackie Rosen is currently trailing her Republican opponent, Samuel Brown, by double digits at the moment. Out of Iowa, with its 6 electoral votes, Donald Trump is a projected winner in this state. And another update on the electoral map to 270 electoral votes. Donald Trump is currently at 228 to Kamala Harris's 148 electoral votes. We now have 11 p.m. poll closings Eastern Time from the West Coast. California, 55 electoral votes should give Kamala Harris the lead for the first time tonight. No surprise here. And out of California Senate race, Adam Schiff hold on to this seat for the Democratic Party. And out of Wisconsin, too close to call, another update with 82% in. Donald Trump remains in the lead. He is hanging on in this state by just 2 points at the moment. And out of Montana's Senate race, too close to call, 57% in. Jon Tester's lead is currently narrowing up at the moment. It is getting closer. We cannot call this just yet. And out of Pennsylvania, with too close to call with 83% in, Donald Trump's lead is getting closer, but we cannot call it. It is way too close at the moment. We have a major projection out of the Ohio Senate race for the Republicans. This is going to be a flip for the GOP. Bernie Moreno will defeat incumbent Senator Sherrod Brown by a projected margin of just 2 percentage points. With 96% of the expected voters in, Bernie Moreno will defeat Sherrod Brown. And then Nevada's Senate race, too close to call with 64% in. Jackie Rosen is creeping up. Samuel Brown's lead is narrowing up at just 2 points currently as of right now. Out of Michigan, too close to call with 88% in, and Donald Trump holds a narrow lead at the moment. Out of Hawaii, with its 4 electoral votes, Vice President Harris will win this state, no surprise here. And out of Hawaii's Senate race, Mazie Hirono will hold on to her seat for the Democratic Party. And out of Michigan, too close to call, another update, 75% in, and Kamala Harris remains trailing Donald Trump at the moment. And out of Georgia, too close to call with 87% of the estimated voters in, and Donald Trump is expanding his lead. We might be able to call it very soon, but just not quite yet. And out of Oregon, with its 8 electoral votes, Vice President Kamala Harris will win this state. And out of Nevada, another update in this state, too close to call with 87% in, Donald Trump is in the lead at the moment in this state by just a percentage point. And out of Washington State, with its 12 electoral votes, Vice President Kamala Harris will win this state. And out of Washington State's Senate race, Maria Cantwell hold on to her Senate seat for the Democrats. And out of Washington State's governor's gubernatorial race, Bob Ferguson will hold on to this race for the Democratic Party. And out of Arizona, too close to call with 90% of the estimated voters in, and Kamala Harris is currently trailing Donald Trump by 3 points at the moment. Must win for Donald Trump, but too close to call in the Arizona Senate race with 74% in. Ruben Gallego's lead is currently shrinking, but he's still in the lead by 3 points over Kari Lake. And out of Idaho's 4 electoral votes, former President Donald Trump will win this state. And now here's the finalized governor's gubernatorial map. The GOP getting 8 states to the Democrats 3 states, including North Carolina. And this is the updated electoral map to 270. Donald Trump remains in the lead at 235 electoral votes to Vice President Kamala Harris's 226 electoral votes. We now have our 1 a.m. poll closings Eastern Time from just one state, Alaska, with its 3 electoral votes. No surprise here, Donald Trump will win this state. We now have a major projection out of the Montana Senate race for the Republicans. This is going to be a flip for the GOP. Tim Sheehy will defeat incumbent Senator Jon Tester. by a projected margin of just 3 percentage points, with 95% of the estimated vote is in. And out of Pennsylvania, another update, 94% in. It is very too close to call. Donald Trump is still in the lead with its 19 electoral votes. And out of Nevada, too close to call for the Senate race, 83% of the estimated vote is in. Jackie Rosen is now in the lead for the first time tonight by a couple points over Samuel Brown. We now have a major projection, the first flip tonight for the former President Donald Trump with its 11 electoral votes. We now can call former President Donald Trump will win Arizona by a margin of just 2 percentage points, 51% to Kamala Harris's 49% in this state. This will be another flip for the Republicans tonight. We now have another flip for Donald Trump, major projection out of Georgia with its 16 electoral votes. Former President Donald Trump will win Georgia by a projected margin of just 2.6%, with 99% of the estimated vote is in. A major win for Donald Trump in the Rust Belt with its 10 electoral votes. Wisconsin is going to go to Donald Trump's column by a projected margin of just 1.2%. We now can call Wisconsin for Donald Trump a major blow to the Harris campaign. We now have another major projection for Donald Trump tonight, Nevada, with its 6 electoral votes. Former President Trump will win this state by a projected margin of 1.6%. This is the margin in the state of Nevada. We now can project that Donald Trump will be president-elect. It is official of the United States, surpassing 270 electoral votes. Donald Trump will be the 45th and the 47th president to his second and final term. But we have a few states to call. We are not done yet, but Donald Trump is currently at 278 electoral votes, and Kamala Harris is sitting at 226 electoral votes. We have some good news for Democrats in the Senate in Arizona. Ruben Gallego will defeat Carrie Lake. This is going to be another hold for the Democratic Party. Ruben Gallego will win by a projected margin of 3 percentage points, with just 81% of the estimated vote is in. Ruben Gallego will win Arizona's Senate race. We have a major projection for Donald Trump again in the Rust Belt in Pennsylvania with its 19 electoral votes. We now can project that Donald Trump will flip the state of Pennsylvania by a projected margin of just 1 percentage point. With 99% reporting, Donald Trump will flip Pennsylvania. We have a major projection for Democrats in the Senate. Nevada race, Jackie Rosen will defeat Samuel Brown. She will hold on to her seat for the Democrats, winning by a projected margin of 4 percentage points, with 98% in. She will win by 52% to Samuel Brown's 48%. We have some good news for Kamala Harris. She will win Michigan's 15 electoral votes. This will be a hold for the Democrats. She will win Michigan by a projected margin of exactly 1 percentage point over Donald Trump. This is the finalized electoral map. 297 electoral votes for Donald Trump to Kamala Harris's 241. It is now official. And take a look at the margins for every single swing and battleground state. These are the margins. And now take a look at the winner of the popular vote. It is extremely close, but Kamala Harris barely receives more votes nationally than Donald Trump at 71 million votes to Donald Trump's 70 million votes. And we now can call the Senate majority belongs to the Republicans. The GOP will flip back the majority of the Senate, taking 52 seats to the Democrats' 48 seats. This is the official Senate map, and these are the margins for every single Senate seat. And now taking a look at the winner of the House of Representatives, the Democrats will take back control of the House, winning 221 congressional districts to the Republicans' 213. That's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you do subscribe to stay tuned for more election nights in the future. Press the like button, share this video. Don't forget we do have memberships. You can find links to that in the description section if you are interested. Thank you everyone for watching.